How's it going, guys? What of course you'll be seeing today is some Battlefield 3 footage. It's a 30-4 sniping round. I thought you guys would enjoy because you guys seem to definitely take recon as a priority or sniping as a priority when I post the videos. So here's this. It's the last of the Battlefield 3 on my hard drive, so hopefully you'll enjoy it for now. But what I wanted to do today is talk about, it's one of my rant videos. So if you don't like rants, you don't like engaging in logistical conversation, then turn it off. I'm not going to hold you here. Leave now. But basically, what I wanted to talk about is I got in this debate with this guy online a while ago, and I feel like his stance, like now I'm going to say it, statistics as a whole sort of paint a picture. They give you an idea of how a person plays. Like I can look at a random battle log. I'll look at basically everything from game mode he plays, how long he's played, the weapons he uses, the maps he likes to play in, and I can get a general picture of how good of a player he is or not. But that being said, I always leave a sort of buffer, so to speak. I don't immediately jump to the conclusions. I understand he might have terrible internet, he might have bad days, he might play a lot of sports, hurt his hands like me, and constantly has to continually break the rust or readjust. You just don't play great all the time, unless you're consistently playing all the time and you've built up that repetition and habit. Me, I don't. So it goes into it, and for me, let's paint the picture I'm trying to illustrate. Basically, I'm trying to say that stats are a decent indicator of what they are, but they do not tell the full story. And I was basically trying to counter the argument that a lot of people were saying, that statistics are the story, that you are the player that your statistics tell. And I don't feel, from a logical perspective, that you can make this argument without saying counterpoints. And basically, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it, but I'll break down mine. I'll start with me as an example. My accuracy in Battlefield 4 is about like 16%. It's not great at all, when most people would consider the 20% benchmark the top plateau, so to speak, of players. But even when you do the logic behind it, 20% means you only make one in every five shots you take. So you figure, well, what's the discrepancy? What's the problem here? And me, I'm even lower than that at 16. But I'm going to talk about the variables that go into it, which is why I was talking with this one guy about it. And for example here, you basically have to think of it. What goes into accuracy? And I'll break it down. First off, I think it's pre-shooting. You might fire, say, 5 to 6 different shots at an area where you know a guy is to either keep him suppressed or basically as you round a corner, you'll start shooting immediately. You might you might land 4 or 5 of the shots to kill him, but you might have missed another 10. That plays a factor in your accuracy, but if you're perennially doing this and having success doing it, then you're getting the kills and the wins, but your accuracy will take a hit. But as long as you're winning, that's completely irrelevant, is it not? The other factor is it overshooting? I know personally I do this all the time. I might make 2 or 3 shots to kill the guy, but when I review my my videos on a constant basis, I find that I'll take another 4 or 5 rounds shooting at the guy, especially if it's a fast fire rate or I'm in a close quarters with like the F2000. I'll overshoot a lot, and that is a big factor that goes into accuracy if you base these firefights over the long term. You can't ignore that statistic. The other thing too is, do you shoot a lot on the run? Are you a very aggressive player? I know for a fact I'm a very aggressive player. I'll take shots that I don't really need to take a lot of the time, for good or for bad, and it does impact in my accuracy, but I feel on average that I win most of the encounters I get in. So that of course does play into the statistical analysis of accuracy. There's more factors. I have horrific internet. Sometimes it'll lag, sometimes it won't. There'll be times where I'm shooting at a guy, and next thing you know, the next screen I'm dead. Where did my bullets go? They didn't land. That is a big factor, and considering how consistently bad my internet is, to completely ignore it as a factor of how that plays into my accuracy is straight ignorance. So that's another factor, and if you have bad internet too, you'd know exactly how I feel with that. Going back to what I was saying, shooting on the run. Do you use PDWs a lot and shoot on the run? What game modes do you play, for example? Do you play like domination? In domination, you probably aren't going to have an encounter basically when you shoot at anyone past 50 meters. So obviously if you're using a carbine or an assault rifle, especially the Scar H, your accuracy is going to skyrocket and it'll reflect in the stats, but it might not represent you as a very good player. You're just playing to the circumstances. Metros and lockers the same. You might have terrible accuracy because you're using the engineering class with PDWs instead of, like for example, a carbine. When you're in a Conquest large map, you might engage a guy at 100 meters away with a PDW and it'll affect your accuracy. But if you are getting the kills, again, your stats don't reflect it, but you're getting the kills. Of course, 16% doesn't 16% accuracy for me, example, and for the rest of you does count for vehicles. I shoot the second gunner's seat like in the tank an awful lot. Even if I'm in an area where an enemy's behind cover, I'll purposely shoot at the cover knowing I might not get the kill just to get the tank, like the main tanker's attention that there's an area, there's a guy there and he's a threat to us. It affects my accuracy. Sometimes I'll shoot at helicopters that are flying by, even though I might not be able to get the full damage when they're close by. I might only get 10% damage into them. And no, and please don't confuse this with I shoot at random choppers halfway across the map. Of course, I would never do that. Just pointing it out in case someone was going to say anything. For example, I know lots of jet pilots that their overall accuracy, because vehicles do count for it, is like 3%. The guys are great players, but when you look up their battle log profile, it says 3%. You're like, what the hell? Especially if you use the MAA a lot. That thing fires out so many rounds that how can you conceivably have a high accuracy using that thing all the time? Because vehicles do count. A lot of people didn't know that. So let's run it down. There's game modes, the weapons you choose, the encounters you choose to engage in, how aggressive a player you are. If you're using support, I know a lot of people that use support with LMGs, which inherently aren't the most accurate weapons right off the bat, but they use it for suppression. They know if guys are clearing an area or trying to get out of an area that they'll just shoot the weapon anyway. They'll just let the rounds fly and fuck what the accuracy looks like at the end of the day, especially in Battlefield 3 when the suppression was super high. That obviously plays a big factor in your statistics, and it can't really be ignored. The other thing too is, of course, shooting in the air for when you're winning, or you shoot at other players if they're not dropping ammo. You shoot at helicopters hoping to get the pilots. I do this a lot with sniper rifles. I'll randomly shoot at choppers going by to hopefully get that funny YouTube clip, but a lot of the time I won't hit it. Plays a big factor in your accuracy. So basically what I wanted to state, of course, running down all these different variables here, as I'm sure most of you guys know. Before I think of another one, what about a guy like peeking around the corner if he's planting a bomb? Like, you'll obviously have to just continually suppress that area and shoot at him just so that he doesn't move. Or if you're planting a bomb and you're shooting at an area where you know they'll be coming from, sometimes you'll be just shooting for the suppressive factor or to just keep them at bay while you're guarding the bomb. But they all count as misses and they're going to affect your accuracy. So basically, yes, I'll finally end it this way. I do feel accuracy does not tell the whole story of a player. Same with kill-death ratio. It's illogical to even consider it. There's been so many times where I've been killed in action. I picked a terrible spawn and I got killed in action too. But my overall encounters were good that day. So, again, I think it depends an awful lot on circumstance, and they don't tell the full story of the player. But basically, if you still listen to my rant so far, I'd like to hear your opinion on it, whether you're a true righteous believer in statistics or the stats of a battle log. Whether you look at those stats and you immediately paint a picture of the player and no logic would change your mind, or if basically I did sort of change your mind a little bit today, basically breaking down the variables. But for me, basically to sum up, based on all the variables I said, you obviously know where I'm going with this. I'm not a big fan of putting labels on people for statistics. Some of the people out there that have terrible KDs, but fantastic, and even terrible shots, are some of the exact players that you'd want on your team. They're the selfless ones that understand that maybe giving me the vehicle would be more conducive for success. They're the ones that'll suppress the area and maybe take the death so that the two guys, the slayers, like me or someone else, might be able to break free from an area we were suppressed. They might put down equipment that's more conducive for success, but they might end up getting them killed, like say an EOD bot, something like that. But basically, I wanted to end it by saying this, because I know I've been ranting a bit. I wanted to end it by saying that statistics don't paint the full picture. They give you an idea, but that's it. If you look at an average battle log and you say, that guy's got like 5% accuracy, you'd be like, oh, he's shit, but he might not be shit at all. He just uses vehicles. Or he might be the guy that likes to suppress a lot. So let's end it this way. Don't judge a book by its cover. Look at the stats and then get an idea You can form an impression. You can tell some bad players right away. You can tell some good players right away. But let's not judge books by their covers. See you guys later.